Hey, seventh grade. So this is the instructional video for the directions on how to complete your first chain reaction worksheet. So we're going to just do some quick things, but before I get into them, I want you to know that I'm going to go over all 5 of these things to show you how you're going to get points here. This is out of 20 points, and each one of these 5 things that's up here is 4 points each. It's pretty simple to understand. To start this video off, I'm going to draw what I want here. And when I do that, I'm going to draw something that you can't do, and I'll explain in a second. So the directions here simply states, in the space provided, you're going to draw 2 different simple machines. So they can't be the same simple machine, and they have to have a creative connection between them. Now, if you've been with us long enough and you've done the domino challenge, you know what a creative connection is. But if you don't, I'm going to explain it again here in this video. So please make sure you're paying attention. Now, first, one of the rules for our simple machine, for our final Rube Goldberg machine, is that you're not allowed to create anything that was used in the domino challenge. So what I'm going to draw here is based on something that was used in the domino challenge. So this way you can't copy me because it's against the rules of the final Rube Goldberg machine. So the part that I'm going to copy from the domino challenge is going to be the beginning portion of the domino challenge, which the car activating the screw. That's what it was supposed to do, or the wheel and axle that activates the screw. The other thing I want to point out is that I'm about to use markers and pens for this, but I do not want you to use markers and pens. You are required to use a pencil so that you can erase it. So that even if whatever is here isn't totally exactly what you need it to be, we can make corrections and you can still earn full credit. So please be aware of that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my car. So here's my wheel and axle. And I don't want to draw it too big. The reason I don't want to draw it too big is because I've got a lot going on that's going to happen in this drawing, and I need it to be listed all over the place. And so I don't want to draw things too big. You start drawing really big or too small, nobody can see it, or it's just too much stuff going on. Now this car is going to be on a table, and this is our table. And let's call this the end of the table. And what I want in the first portion of this first chain reaction is I want this car to hit into this block of wood and knock that block of wood off the table. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because we have to identify the first thing here, which is force equals mass times acceleration. Now, the force in any aspect in anything is always an object that hits another object. That is the force. The force is the thing that's forcing its will upon the next object. So in this case, my force is the wheel and axle. And all I'm going to do is label it F for force. And the thing that it's hitting is the mass. In this case, the mass is the block of wood. So I've labeled the force and I've labeled the mass. Now, it's always difficult to figure out how to label acceleration, because kids are thinking, oh, acceleration is speed, but that's not the case in here. Acceleration is what you want to happen. Now, what I want to happen is the car is going to hit into the block of wood and the block of wood is going to fall off the table. So I got to write that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little A here, and I'm going to write wheel and axle hits block. And that's the first thing. And the second thing is that the block falls off table. I am not looking for grammatical errors here. Just write what you want to happen. Wheel and axle hits block, block falls off the table. And that's easy enough. So now I've labeled my force, my mass, and explained what I want to happen for the acceleration. So I've done that, and I'm just going to put a little check mark there. There we go. And now I've got to label my simple machines. It's asking me to label my simple machines because here in bold letters, it says label the following. Force equals mass times acceleration. Force, mass, acceleration. I've done that. Now, simple machines I'm labeling. So the force is the wheel and axle. The mass is the block of wood. And now I've labeled those. Simple machines taken care of. The direction that I want to go in. So now I'm going to use a different color. I do not want you using a different color. I'm using it so that you can see it on the screen. This is the direction I want things to go. So there's my wheel and axle. It's going to hit into the block of wood, and the block of wood is going to fall. And by the way, I mispronounced. The block of wood isn't necessarily a simple machine here. It technically is, but for right now, it's not one of my two simple machines that I'm drawing. This is just the scenario. I have one simple machine hitting into the block of wood, and the block of wood will be part of my creative connection. So now I want to draw my second thing, is the direction. I've got that. I want to label my objects. I did that. Wheel and axle, block of wood. But in this case, the wheel and axle is a car, right? Your wheel and axle could be different. It could be a Ferris wheel. It could be anything. As long as it rotates in 360 degrees and does whatever you want it to do, it's going to be fine. And then I'm going to label this as wood, even though we labeled it as a block of wood. In this case, we didn't label what we want this car to be out of. And I'm going to write connects car, because I want it to be built out of connects. So I'm using that type of object, okay? And it says right here, if it's a car, label it a car, okay? Next, materials, I'll be writing down on the back of my worksheet, but now I'm going to the second portion of this, because this is my first simple machine, and now I have to draw my second simple machine, which in this case of the domino challenge, which we are not allowed to recreate, was the screw. The car went into the screw in the domino challenge. And I'm going to draw my screw wound up with the big weight here, kind of like stuck up top. Okay, and that's how I'm going to do it. And then I'm going to also draw the support that I made for that keeps it up there. And now I'm going to take a different color, and I'm going to tie a string around this block of wood, and then I'm going to connect that string to this. And not only am I going to do that, I'm going to label, because I have to label the objects. String. I'm labeling this. Support. I'm labeling this. And this is important. We have to figure out what we really want here. It's a weight. So what kind of weight do you want? In this case, I'm just going to choose batteries, because that's what most people did in the domino challenge. So I'm choosing batteries. Now I'm going to label my simple machine. This is a screw. And obviously I had the wheel and axle. I labeled that already over there. And so now I know that the car is going to hit this block of wood off. The wood is going to pull the support out, which will release the screw. Pretty simple. Well, now I have to label my next force, mass, and acceleration, because I have another one. I know that this block of wood was the mass because the car hit it. Well, now the block of wood going down off the table is actually pulling the support. So this then becomes a force. Now, I don't want to get confused, so I'm going to say this is F1, this is mass 1, and this is acceleration 1. So I'm going to call this F2. The support here that's being pulled off by the block of wood falling off the table, that support is the mass, but it's a mass 2 because the F2 is moving the mass 2. And now I'm going to write here A2. Block falls. Pulls support to release screw. And now I've done this perfectly. Force equals mass times acceleration, done. I've labeled my simple machines, screw, wheel, and axle. I've got the direction. Well, now I have to do this. We know that this goes down. Well, we have to then show that this is going to pull out and that this will open up. We don't know what it's going to hit yet, and it doesn't have to know because we're not getting there just yet. But now I'm showing how all of this will work together. And so now I've got the direction done, and I have my objects. I've labeled my string. I've labeled my batteries. I need to label the screw. I'm going to say that this is a dowel, like we made it, and then another piece of wood, so that we kind of have an idea of like what we're really building this thing out of. All right. It's going to be built like one of those things where there's a dowel coming out of a piece of wood. The support, maybe the support is built out of connects. And we write that down so that we have everything covered. We know what this thing is going to do. Now, you might not be a great artist. And even if you're not, and you draw something like this, but you start to label and you start to write out what you're supposed to be doing, and please write clearly. Well, if you do that, then you'll have everything that you need. And it's all written right here. And I can just take a look. And even though your drawing might not make sense because you're not that good of an artist, and that's okay, I'll have the things that are labeled to show me really what you want to do, including the arrows and how you want this thing to flow. I have two simple machines with a creative connection where it's going to pull that out and it's going to release that screw. Very easy. Now, the last thing is the materials. On the back of this worksheet, I'm going to write all of the materials I need. So starting with this one, I need connects to build a car. So I need connects wheels, connects posts, and connectors. I need a block of wood. I need string. I need more connects for this. I need batteries. I need a dowel, and I need a piece of wood for the underneath of that dowel. I think if we figure all that out, we're just writing those things down. Then I can go ahead and collect the materials I need to make this happen and start building. And that is why this is so important to do this accurately. Now, will your design look like this? Probably not. It might change over time, and that's a good thing. That's called growth. But understand that initially, you're going to start to make this. And the better you make this worksheet, the better your design is going to come out. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. Good luck and have fun.